People who separated divorced within 1 year of getting married. When did you know it was a mistake? When he choked me against a wall at a party. He was mad that I laughed at another guy's joke. People were passing by us but just kinda looked and kept going. Lots of other stuff happened but it took me a while to wake up and break away. I was in denial for too long. Super late to the party here. But I knew it was over when she started a fight at my brother's funeral because female attendees were giving me hugs as part of condolences. I knew a week after I got married when he slammed my head into the wall because he saw me looking at a man at an ice cream shop. I'm from the US. And got married in England. This dude changed completely right after we got married. A couple of weeks later, I had to get out of there and come back to the US. She nearly killed me because she thought I was cheating from some texts that went to my mother. Dude. I was blindsided by it. We lived together for a year about an hour from my hometown. We relocated, upon her request and desire, to my hometown prior to our marriage so that when we had kids, it's best to be close to family. We had a house we loved, dog we loved, jobs we both loved working in. Or so I thought. Married in October. She goes to visit her sister over the next Labor Day weekend and I can't attend due to work. Comes back the Tuesday after Labor Day and tells me she's living a lie and someone else's dream and she needs a divorce. I had no idea. Divorce finalized in January. She married some dude that her sister was friends with. And she met on that trip I was unable to attend. This September. Life is wild. Sometimes. When he said my son's suicide attempt interfered with his ex's birthday party. When I found out she was sending Snapchats to a coworker. Turns out she was sleeping with him. We got divorced. I met the girl of my dreams. We just had our first kid together 2 weeks ago. Honeymoon. We dated for 5 years but on the honeymoon we had a big argument over my liberal use of sunscreen. She refused to wear any because of acid chemicals and I liberally use it due to my ginger skin. We seriously argued over this for a good hour and she refused to even go into the pool with me because of sunscreen chemicals. After a scuba adventure with her she could hardly walk because she got so burnt on her legs whereas my skin didn't change. She then tried to convince me that it was all my fault because I didn't force her to wear the sunscreen and that the honeymoon was ruined. It was then I realized I picked the wrong person. After a few more psycho arguments, mad at me because of something in her dreams. Mad because I didn't remind her to bring an umbrella. Close bracket. I had to call it quits. I can't stay with someone who constantly blames me for their own problems. Luckily no kids and I got back everything I brought into the marriage. Not me. But my friend's sister. Her sister got engaged 8 months into a relationship. And got married 4 months later. Everything went well the first 5 months. But the husband started acting different. He wasn't chatty. His good morning good night kisses became dull. Etc. Her sister would ask if everything was okay and he would say I'm fine every time. Her sister didn't want to push him. So she waited for him to talk about what's bothering him. One evening after eating dinner, the husband said he wanted to talk about their relationship. Before he could talk about it, he started crying. He cried for a few minutes and then told her he's gay. The sister filed for divorce and after the divorce was settled, she wasn't really mad at him anymore. So she went to see him and forgave him. They became good friends and the sister helped him become comfortable with his sexuality. She even helped him come out to his close friends and then to his family. 5 years later, the sister is now engaged to another man and expecting their first child. The ex-husband is now very happily married to a man for almost a year now. She went out for girls' night and met a new friend named Nicole at a bar. Started texting her a lot. Then going to hang out now and then. We had a baby at home and she kept trying to go hang out with this girl from another town over with no last name whom I was not allowed to meet. And here I thought she was just going to turn out to be a lesbian. I had been fooling around with this girl for a while. I never wanted anything serious. And I knew that from the start. Then my mom was killed. I went into a deep depression and this girl was there for me. Her mom had died of cancer about a year earlier and I guess we really bonded over that. It pushed us much further emotionally than we ever should have gone. We ended up doing a courthouse marriage. I knew within the month that I had FK'd up. But I didn't want to just give up and get divorced. Once the emotions of my mom's death passed, I realized how toxic she really was. She was an incredibly unstable person and ended up just taking me into an even deeper depression. We divorced about a year ago, after being married for about 10 months. And I was immediately much happier. Marriage shouldn't be taken lightly. But people also shouldn't force themselves to be in unhealthy relationships. We all make mistakes. Don't waste your life with someone that doesn't deserve you. Her running off with a guy she met in rehab was a pretty solid clue that it wasn't meant to be. A cousin of mine divorced her husband after 6 months. She knew when we had to pick her up from her home after having been recently beaten. That day, we packed up all of her stuff and never let her go back. The day after we got married when he slapped me across the face, hard and completely out of the blue. No argument. No conversation leading up to it. Nothing. He said it wasn't that hard of a hit. He was just kidding around. And I was being overdramatic. He had never gotten violent with me while dating. But as soon as we got married it was like a switch flipped and he was a completely different person. It got worse very quickly. And I ended up filing for divorce 73 days after we got married. She decided she was in love with her stepbrother a month after we got married. I'm pretty sure I watched a preview of a scene with the same plotline last night. My Mill got married the first time when she was really young. Left him a month later. Turns out he was a raging alcoholic. She had no idea because her family was super overprotective and they were never really allowed to spend time together alone before they got married. Who knew spending time with someone could be the key to knowing if they are a good partner? Not a year, but about 18 months. She was constantly complaining she didn't have friends after moving in with me. Joined a local soccer team. And she talked about one teammate non-stop for months. I had a bad feeling about it from the get-go but she assured me they were just friends and how dare I not trust her. Thought I was going crazy because my gut told me something wasn't right but I was punishing myself for being a bad husband and not trusting my wife. Turned out it was all true. She had been F-king the teammate for months. Most likely F-ked someone else during our engagement. Split amicably officially as of last week without any mess. Thank God. Just that crazy look in his eyes when I didn't do the dishes to his standards. Like he was going to hurt me. I should have left then because I was right. I commend every single one of you who got out within the year. I knew my husband was shitty during that time too but my dumbass put up with him for over 10 years because I wanted to try and make it work. Good job, guys. When she FK'd her ex within the first 6 months. A cousin of mine married someone who seemed like the perfect woman. They worked in the same store together. And he would brag about how his wife was getting promoted quickly in the company. A few months into the marriage, she tells him she's going out with friends for the evening. An hour or so later, my cousin gets a call from one of his friends. The friend saw her having dinner in a restaurant with the manager of the store that they both worked at. Once he confronted her about it, that was basically the end of the marriage. Got married in late May. By August or September I found out from my dad that my husband, now ex, and my brother's wife were esting. She was also my bridesmaid at our wedding. She felt guilty and told my dad who had to tell me. I forgave him like a dingus and about a year and a half later I found pictures of him sucking 2 different dicks in our house and also wearing quite a bit of my nice makeup. All of this after we moved to Washington from Florida. It's been wild. We're obviously divorced now. Edited for clarity since I guess that needed to be said. A Florida man will remain a Florida man no matter where he's moved. Edit. Thanks for the gold. My brother died a week after the wedding and after about 2 months. He told me that was just too big of a thing to happen in the beginning of a marriage. I tried for 6 more months and then just gave up. I'm sorry about your brother. I'm sorry your husband wasn't supportive. That's kind of a dick move. To say your grief is too much of a drag for me. But it sounds like you weren't a great match in the first place. The next morning I woke up and thought, when would be a socially acceptable time to get divorced? In hindsight that says miles about why I felt I had to get married. A couple of weeks into our marriage, the sex started to physically hurt. I went to my OB and after a test or two, she informed me I had contracted chlamydia. That's when I knew. Turns out, my newlywed husband had been banging his co-worker for months. When I found out he had $500k in debt that he hadn't told me about beforehand. Yes, we had a prenup. He just lied about it on the prenup. Girl, I know. 1 month in she found out he cheated the day of the wedding. Damn, that sucks. When I was in Iraq and she posted a picture on Facebook of her and another guy laying in bed together. It was obvious that they had just hooked up. Don't get married to fix relationships. Pro-life tip. The day after the wedding when he poked me in the chest and said you're going to do what I say whether you like it or not. Ugh. Big mistake. Not technically within a year but when I returned from my first deployment, 10 months, I found out she had been sleeping with 3 of my buddies. Told her to pack her shitty and get the FCK out. Jody. Brody and Cody strike again. When she pulled a knife a month in, I still stayed for a full year like an idiot. Friend of mine. Very religious couple never had sex before marriage. I want this to be told her she was gay. That would be the start of a good joke. I bet. Not me but a female friend knew 4-6 weeks into marriage. Her husband at the time basically spent a few years prior to marriage being a bit of a salesman to everyone. Once they got behind closed doors his traditional marriage roots really came out. They both had fast moving careers. And while he was okay with her making money and having a career, he also expected her to cook, clean, take care of the dogs, etc. And never lifted a finger. He would just come home and pound drinks until dinner time. I knew it was a mistake about 2 months into our engagement. I actually broke up with her for a week but didn't tell anyone other than my parents. Something just didn't feel right. She ended up begging me every single day and I just felt really bad and got back with her. We pretended like it never happened. Got married 9 months later and she ended up cheating on me a little over a year into our marriage. I still don't f***ing understand her logic behind all that but whatever. It's done and I've moved on but I'll never understand why she wanted me back so badly and did that not even 2 years later. Edit. Jeez. Thanks guys and gals for the kind words and chats. If you're going through a rough patch, it does get better. One day at a time. I've remarried and we're planning on starting a family soon. Would have never imagined rebuilding after what happened with my ex. Keep the faith and things will turn around. Knew before we even got married. Spoke about how I thought it didn't feel right with my family a couple months before the big day but was told it was just cold feet and we'd be fine after the wedding. Almost a year later I was still miserable so I left. Was an absolute tea-storm but so worth it. My dad made a big deal when my siblings and I were each engaged that if we weren't sure about going through with it, we could call it off at any time. Even in the back of the church when the ceremony was starting. He checked with us to verify we still wanted to do it. I always knew I wanted to go through with it. But it's still nice to really know it was my decision and not something I was pushed into. And I know plenty of people who weren't really sure but felt like it was too late to change their mind. On wedding day, he was angry and his family was abusive to my side for not doing enough to entertain them. They were expecting dowry and lots of gifts. I'm Indian, and since it wasn't up to their expectations they made my life a living hell for a month. I decided 1 month is enough. It wasn't too late to put an end to it. I got married shortly after tech school. About 4 months after. We made plans for her to move from NC to TX to join me, as I'm in the military and can't move. 3 times I brought it up. 3 times she said she just needed more time to move. Finally the 4th time she said she couldn't leave her friends and family to move across the country to start our lives together. A year later, we were divorced. Or well, I divorced her. She obviously didn't come down to Texas for that. Signed a waiver of citation to not get any news about it. So I basically got to divorce myself. Which, after hearing how vindictive ex-spouses can be, I chalk that up to a blessing. Not me, but a cousin. Me and my family were at a wedding reception sitting outside on a deck. My cousin comes out to sit with us for a bit and pulls out a pack of cigarettes. Her first words were, "Please don't tell him I smoke." They moved to California a few weeks later and divorced within a week of being there. Should mention they were engaged before she got out of high school. Day after we got engaged, he changed. Then he uninvited my family to the wedding, said they would take my attention away from him. We lasted 3 months. And then I ran and hid. Edit to everyone who is asking, then why did you marry him then? I totally get that question. Here is the answer. I felt worthless. So when you grow up feeling worthless, and a partner says yeah, you are worthless, and everyone can see that. But you know what? I will love you anyway. You jump on that shit like it's the last living plant in a nuclear wasteland. I didn't leave because I honestly believed it was either him or suicide. I left because he was killing me anyway and I decided it would be less painful to just die on my own. Then I lived. I hear this question a lot. If you ask someone why they stay, it's because you don't understand the trauma they're experiencing. That means you are lucky. In that regard, be careful with this shaming question. It is a part of our trauma. I think I knew for a while, but I finally admitted it after I had left. He was abusive and it happened so slowly that I didn't see it. It's almost like being lulled to sleep. It started emotionally before I married him. Then by about 6 months and the physical abuse had started. Shortly after, it progressed to sexual abuse as well. Long story short, a close friend saw some bruising. She was concerned and went to my parents. My dad confronted my ex and basically forced me to leave with them. At the time, I was so brainwashed I didn't get it. It's scary to look back on how out of it I truly was during that period of time. It almost feels like I was an observer of my own life. 7 years and a lot of therapy later, I'm in a much healthier place and in a happy, healthy relationship. After reading this, I'm going to snuggle my wife like she's never been snuggled before. Less than a year into actively trying to get pregnant, he got discouraged. Gave up and started staying out until 4:15 AM with his coworker. He posted selfies on her couch on Snapchat and even went as far as asking her to marry him once he could get rid of me. He had 2 biological children, my stepchildren, that he abandoned at home with me while he was out doing this. The icing on the cake was that on my favorite holiday, while holding my brand new baby nephew in front of his entire family, he told me he wanted a divorce. I was gone in 2 weeks. Left everything to him. And vanished. New number. New address. Everything. Best choice I ever made. My Bill got married and divorced within 6 weeks. They were both alcoholics and got drunk and decided to fight each other. She ended up with a black eye and had him arrested. She moved out the next day. They are both still on debt over it. Not me, but a friend of mine. They had been married about 6 weeks. She had just moved in when they returned from the honeymoon. And she was rearranging furniture, organizing closets, etc. One day while he was at work, she started pulling some of his boxes down from a closet shelf to make room for her things. And a box fell down accidentally, spilling hundreds of pictures of child PRN. Divorced the pedo after reporting him to the military police. They were both in the military.